Worship leaders need times of regular silence. We are surrounded by music. Our job is music. Our job is listening to songs, preparing new songs, bringing them to our teams. Much of the quiet time life of many Christians today is used with YouTube and Spotify, which again are amazing tools that provide an amazing atmosphere for us to worship to. But I want to challenge worship leaders that silence is one of the lost arts of our day. In a world surrounded by, outside of a library, and maybe there's a couple, department stores in the world that don't have music blaring. And as a musician, as a creative, like there's going to be a melody probably in your brain all throughout. Even if you're having a conversation with someone at dinner, like the background music is, you're kind of like bobbing your head. You can hear melodies in it. Silence is one of the most needed things, one of the most rare things in our lives as worship leaders. And I want to encourage us to find it. In Psalm chapter 46, the psalmist says, "Be still and know that I am God." Ecclesiastes, Solomon in the book of Ecclesiastes, he says, "There's a time for silence." And I want to read a couple of quotes to you that have really struck me. Thomas Merton says it this way. He says, "My life is listening. He is speaking. My salvation is to hear and respond. For this, my life must be silence. Hence, my silence is salvation." I love that he talks about framing silence, not just in a way of, okay, I'm being silent, but actually of a way to listen to the Holy Spirit. And Henry Nouwen says something very similar. He says, silence isn't just being alone and quiet, but being alone with God, that we might hear his voice. And so I want to encourage us to take some time. We're not talking about like an hour a day or anything crazy like that. Can you start with 1 minute? Can you set your timer for 1 minute before you get out of your car to work or school or whatever it is, before you go back home with your family? Set your timer on your phone for 1 minute and just sit in utter silence and just say, "Holy Spirit, speak to me." And just see what happens. See what he might say. It's probably going to be really challenging, but then work your way up to 2 minutes and then 3 minutes and then 5 minutes. And it's amazing what comes out of my soul as a human, but as a creative specifically, when I actually dedicate time on the regular to being in silence. Again, I love the tools of worship. I love how people utilize worship music, in their quiet time. But I think the lost art of silence is something that's so needed as worship leaders, as creatives. I want to encourage you to find it today.